and I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to do a bookshelf tour of my red shelves. Earlier this year you saw me sort of reorganizing books, and I've also done a bookshelf tour of my TBR books. Now I want to do one of all of my red books that I have. More or less all of them are red books, and I will show them to you today. Hopefully I'll be able to film it all because it's gonna be a little bit wonky in the beginning, and in the end we'll see, at least in the beginning. So first up, let's do a panorama of the books. I have books shelved all up on the top, and it goes down to this place. This is sort of the bottom shelf right now, but at least I have room to add in more books. So I haven't done a bookshelf tour like this in a long time. Oops. Just in the beginning here, I'm gonna do it handheld, so apologies in advance if it's a bit shaky, but this is my top shelf. It basically has majority of my hardbacks. So let's start over here. I have from the bottom, I tried sort of alphabetize it a little bit, but at the bottom here we have Kenneth B. Andersen, Lucy's Hjerte, which is a Danish author. This is sort of a very short novella, sort of horror, sort of fantasy, stuff like that. We have Dead Voices by Catherine Arden, which I read, obviously. Read all of them. Wrath and the Dawn and The Rose and the Dagger duology. I really enjoyed the Wrath and the Dawn when I read it. I gave it 4.5 stars if I remember correctly, and I gave 4 stars to The Rose and the Dagger. I don't know what I would feel like if I started it now. My cat is scratching cardboard, if you can hear that. And then I have The Flame in the Mist also by Renée Ahdieh, and it's a Mulan retelling, and I didn't really love it. I don't know. And then we have The Bone Witch by Winsky Pecco, which I also didn't love. And then I recently read one, Lightfall by Ed Crocker, which also was not my favorite. So this is definitely not my favorite stack of all. Over here we have a sort of collaboration between Kenneth B. Andersen and Benny Bødker, 2 Danish authors. They have rewritten or retold the Grimm fairy tales, at least some of them, and a bind-up kind of thing. Then we have Foundryside, which is one of my favorite fantasies of a year, but I have not read on, so whoops. I love this one, gave it 5 stars. This is some of my Patricia Briggs, Mercy Thompson books. We have Storm Cursed, Smoke Bitten, and Soul Taken, and I really enjoyed them, but this is my favorite urban fantasy series, I think. Sort of close to that, and then Jim Butcher's Dresden Files. Those are my 2 favorites. We have Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which I liked it, but I also hated it at the same time a little bit. A Danish fantasy book called Grænsen til Trafallas. The series, that's the series title, and this is called De Helves Arv, which translated would be The Legacy of the Halves. I think I have books 2 and 3, but I gave it 4 stars, I think. I didn't love it. I'm not sure why I didn't continue. Then I have my stack of Tom Fletcher books. I have The Creekers and the Danger Gang, which are outside of the Christmasaurus universe. Then we have the 3 first Christmasaurus books. I love these 2. This one was okay. And then I have When We Were Magic by Sarah Gailey. Whoop. And now I've moved over to the next part. We have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Love this one. And I have Velvet Was the Night by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I gave that 3 stars. Really quite disappointed by it, actually, because I had only read really good books by the author at this point. Then we have City of Lies by Sam Hawke. I like this one, but I didn't love it. I don't know if I'm gonna continue with it. We have The Fireman by Joe Hill, the only Joe Hill book that I have completed, and I gave that 3 to 3.5 stars. It was very weird, but at the same time it's also interesting. So I have The Will of the Many, which is, I think, definitely one of my favorite books of the year so far. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I recently read it and I have a vlog for that. Then I have Starling Gabby Breaks the Universe, and Silent Gabby Fix the Universe. This is the first one, this is the second, I don't know why it's that order. Love this one, is one of my favorite, all-time favorite middle grade books. And then this one, I also really enjoyed it, but wasn't as good as the first one. Then we have a Danish fantasy series called Rosa og Viola, Roses and the Rosenholm Trilogy. This is set in a posh Danish boarding school with magic and dimensional stuff. No, not dimensional, sorry. Ghostly stuff, spirits and Norse mythology things, lots of things. Enjoyed it, got better and better as the series progressed. The first one has been translated into English, so you could read it. We have Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. A little bit underwhelmed by it. I really thought I would love it. Then we have Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. I've recently read that for a vlog. And give it 4.5 stars, so really enjoyed it. And over here we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Didn't love this one, actually should probably get rid of it. McFly, Our Story, Until Things Our Story. This is a sort of biography by them, and I love this band, so yeah. The Duchess War by Courtney Milan. This is the first book in the Brother Sinister series. I couldn't remember the series title. Then we have, I like this one, gave it 4 stars. Then we have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, and I gave that 3 stars, I believe. And now we are over at my Wayward Children's stack. And I have Every Heart a Doorway obviously here, down among the sticks and bones. This one has been broken since I got it, Beneath the Sugar Sky. In an Absent Dream, Come Tumbling Down Across the Green Grass Fields, Where the Drowned Girls Go, Lost in the Moment and Found, and Misled and Paths Have Known. My favorites. I really enjoyed the first one. This is my favorite, I think. And then I have In an Absent Dream and Come Tumbling Down coming close after the first one. And then I also really like Lost in the Moment and Found, but the other has been 4 stars. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I gave this one, I think, 3.5. Yeah. Anyway, this is, I don't want to put too much focus on her, but I don't know, I should probably get rid of it. I had forgotten I had it. Lethal White by Robert Galbraith. Then we have The Gauntlet by Karuna Riati, a middle grade that I read earlier this year. Daughter of Deep Silence by Carrie Ryan, also a young adult book I read earlier this year. We have Fantastic Beasts, the screenplay. We have Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse, the first one in the Sixth World. I have not read on. I didn't love this. I was very hyped at the time when I got it, but I didn't love it. I read it for the BookTube SFF Awards of the year. And then we have Duft Up a Ticket by Anna Rue. This is sort of a apothecary thing with scents and smells and stuff that does different things and magics. It was really good, very whimsical. Then we have A Tyranny of Petticoats, one of my favorite Shopster collections. We have Artemis by Andy Weir. We've established I didn't love this. I gave it 2 stars, I think. Then I have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, which I recently read and enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. Miniland, a Danish fantasy book. I didn't love it. Slayer by Kirsten White, the first book in the series. I actually really enjoyed it. I never continued on. Then we have, I also had the first one, but my sister is currently loaning it, which is the Morgan Crow, the Nevermore series. The first one is the Nevermore, the Trials of Morgan Crow. This is the Wundersmith and the Holopax. Great books, all 5 stars. Then we have A Touch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir, the second book in the, I forgot what this series is called, but it's getting a revamp, rehype thing. I've seen that on Instagram and YouTube, whatever. This shelf is paperbacks. I have divided them into sort of trade paperbacks and mass market paperback sizes, which I know is weird, but I like that I can stack them like this. They can all be on like this. There's more room for them this way, I feel like, so I don't have to fit each. That's also why I put the hardbacks at the top, so I didn't have to sort of fit everything in heights and stuff. But up here we have, the first one we have here is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, the first book in the First Law series. I don't remember very much from that book, so I have to reread it, and I read it at the time when I was moving here, so probably one of the reasons why I can't remember much. Then we have With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I love Elizabeth Acevedo. I think she's she's a really good author. I really have enjoyed all of the books that I've read by her. This is, oops. The Girl Who Chased the Moon by Sarah Addison Allen. This was my favorite book the year I joined BookTube back in 2016. And I don't know if I'd like it the same again today, but I really, really enjoyed it at the time. It's sort of magical, more contemporary than it's magical though. But it follows a young girl and a sort of adult, and there are different storylines. I liked it. Later that same year I read The Sugar Queen, also by Sarah Addison Allen, and I didn't love that as much, but I still enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then we have Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This started out better than it ended. I really enjoyed the beginning, but then it got very YA at the end. I don't know what else to say and how to explain myself, but then we have Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I don't think I'd love it as much if I read them now, but I did really enjoy them at the time. So 5 stars for that one. This one was a 4 stars, Upside of Unrequited, I believe. I don't think it was 5 stars, was it? More of a recent read, Age of Assassins by R.J. Barker. This is the first book in the Wounded Kingdom, I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, and I read that for my sort of channel reboot back in, I started it in September but ended up in October. It took me way longer to read those books than I would now, because I was just getting back into reading fantasy and getting myself hyped for books and reading more generally. But I liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. We have Fortune's Pawn by Rachel Bach, the first book in the Paradox trilogy. This was fun. It's very easy to understand sci-fi, so good for those who struggle a little bit with sci-fi. It would be a good starting point, I think. It has a lot of good vibes. I remember it being pitched as Vampire Academy but in space, and I think it's because the main character has a very Rose vibe, so yeah. I have the second one, never continued, but I have it so I can read it on. Then we have Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, the first book in the Grishaverse series. I read the whole trilogy obviously, but this is the only one in the Grisha trilogy that I own. I gave this was my favorite in the series, and then I disliked the second, but I liked the third one. And then I have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which I also read and enjoyed. I didn't love it, but I respect her YA fantasy books. Then we have The Demolished Man by Alfred Bester. This is an SF Masterwork thing, and I read it, I want to say 2019. This is very interesting, sort of mind control thing, where one wants to try and get away with murder when the police can sort of hear your thoughts. So how do you get away with murder? Very interesting concept. Then I have 12 Kings by Bradley Beaulieu. I have a full spoiler-free review of it on my channel that I read it this year. I gave it 3 stars, so a little bit underwhelmed. I have I'd Rather Be Reading by Anne Bogle, The Delights and Dilemmas of the Reading Life. This is a non-fiction about reading and being a book lover. 3 stars. Then we have my Patricia Briggs books, the other ones that I own. I have the first one, Mooncall, Frostburn, which is the 7th book, Night Broken, which is the 8th book, Fire Touched, which is the 9th book, and Silence Fallen, which is the 10th book. And they are, I don't own books 2 to 6 because I have them on my Kindle, but I should get them at some point, but I'm not in a hurry to get them, even though I love them. these two are Danish fantasy books. I will pull one of them out. It's Vedermindenes, which is it's not been translated. I really enjoyed it, but it sort of reminded me a little bit of Game of Thrones vibes in terms of sort of political stuff and hardships. We have Cupcakes at Carrington's by Alexandra Brown. Did not like this one. I've outgrown my chiclet thing. We have Sound Bites by Rachel K. Burke. Don't really love rock and roll romances any longer. I think I gave this 3.5 stars when I read it. I have Unicorn, the poetry of Angela Carter. I didn't like this. I didn't understand it. I'm not very good with poetry, but I have it. Then I have A Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell, the first book in the Why Can't I Remember Great Code series. Gave it 4.5 stars. Really love this. But Night's Shadow, 5 stars. One of my favorite books of that year. Loved it. Should continue. Story of my life. Okay, so this shelf became my sort of graphic works shelf. I have the second volume of Valhalla, which is one of my favorite comic books series. This is Norse mythology. It's Danish, and has a very old school type comics, but I love them so much. And this also has sort of stories around it, how they build up the characters and stuff. We have the illustrated editions of the first 2 Harry Potter books, putting them out. Then I have the first 2 Discworld books in graphic novel form. I have not read this one yet. This is one of the few things that I haven't read on here. Cannot wait to actually sit down and read it. Although The Color of Magic and The Light Fantastic are not my favorite Discworld books, I think it's gonna be fun seeing the illustrations. This was a gift by Cover Books from Instagram, so very, very happy about it. I have Saga volumes 5, 6, and 7. I've read the other volumes from the library. Then I have Descender volumes 1 to 4. I don't remember if I read volume 4 yet. Maybe I did. I'm uncertain if I read the 4th volume because I was supposed to at a readathon. But then at the same time I feel like I did. So I don't know. If I didn't, this is one of the only ones I also haven't read. Then we have Monstrous volumes 1 to 3. Read all of them, love them. They have so beautiful artwork in here. I think I loved it. So we have The Last Hero by Terry Pratchett, which is a novel in sort of illustrated edition. Love this because it's Terry Pratchett. Oops. We have Aquicorn Cove by Katie O'Neill. We have The Adventure Zone. Here There Be Gerblins, which is based on a podcast. Read it for Booktube Awards a couple of years back. Nimona by Noel Stevenson, one of my favorite all-time favorite graphic novels. I have not reread it since I read it the first time, but I love the art style. So Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Yeomni Som. This is difficult for people who don't like letters in the wrong place. So just wanted to let you know. I liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. We have Anya's Ghost by Vera Bruskell. One of my least favorite I own. And I have the 4th Harry Potter book without the first jacket. Let's not focus too much on that. On this shelf, continue with my paperbacks. First up we have The School for Good and Evil and World Without Princess. Books 1 and 2 in the School for Good and Evil series. I still have to read the 3rd one. I don't know if I'm continuing it because apparently it continued, but I don't know. It was supposed to be a trilogy for so long. We have Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang, my favorite, all-time favorite short story collection. Have a review of it on my channel. Still, I think the most watched video. We have Bad Unicorn by Platt F. Clark. This is the wonkiest cover I've ever known. It's about the Princess the Destroyer, which is a unicorn that kills people with her horn. We have How to Train Your Dragon, How to Be a Pirate, How to Speak Dragonese, and How to Cheat Dragon's Curse, the first 4 books in How to Train Your Dragon series by Cressida Cowell, which is also Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III. I have With Malice by Eileen Cook, and also The Hanging Girl by Eileen Cook. I have Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, A Little Wanting Song by Kath Crowley, and Truth Witch by Susan Dennard, the first book in the Truth Witch series. We have Hadriana in All My Dreams by Renee Despestra, Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames, The Ruins of Golan and The Burning Bridge, both by John Flanagan. These are books 1 and 2 in the Ranger's Apprentice series. Space Band by Tom Fletcher. Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. I actually own the second one, Always with Love, but I loaned it out to my sister. I don't think I got it back, but I don't know. I'm not in plans of rereading it anyway. So, The Gilded Ones by Namina Fauna. Quite disappointed about this one actually. Guards of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. My favorite read of 2020. The Dark Days Club and The Dark Days Pact by Alison Goodman, books 1 and 2 in the Lady Helen series. The Princess Bride by William Goldman, one of my most disappointing reads I've ever read. I was sure it was going to be 5 stars and then I ended up giving it 2 stars. So I have the Danish edition of The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, and Malice and Valor by John Gwynne, the first 2 books in the Faithful and the Fallen series, 5 stars and 4.5 stars. I'm still working on Ruin. So up here we have Rebel of the Sands by Alvin Hamilton. I love the covers of these, but this was sort of 3 stars, I think. Goldstrike Island by Frances Hardy. Assassin's Apprentice and Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. The first 2 books in the Farseer trilogy. Read all of Robin Hobb's Elderling World books, but I just only own a couple of them. I have the 5th season, The Obelisk Gate, and The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin, the Broken Earth series. Yeah. I have Howl's Moving Castle, 5 stars. The Castle in the Air, 4 stars. Charmed Life by the Chrestomanci, first Chrestomanci book, 4 stars. And The Lives of Christopher Chant, 5 stars. Not as good as the Howl's Moving Castle thing. The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. Didn't love this. Don't know why I'm still owning it. All My Friends Are Superheroes by Andrew Kaufman. A fun little quirky book. Illuminate by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. 4 stars, I believe. I have Fantasy Lover, the prequel to the Dark Hunter series. 4 stars, I think. Wicked Wonders by Ellen Clegg, one of my a decent short story collection. Definitely want to read more by Ellen Clegg. Okay, sorry everyone. It by Stephen King, a Danish edition, very freaky cover. I don't like clowns, so. The Assassin's Apprentice by Laurie R. King, the first book in the Mary Russell series, a Sherlock Holmes sort of retake. And now we're getting into my Mary Robert Cole. We have Shades of Milk and Honey. This is a sort of historical fantasy thing. I still need to read on. I heard the first one isn't as good as the rest of them. The Calculating Stars, one of my all-time favorite sci-fi books. Love this one, my favorite book of 2020. No, 2019. 2019, yeah. We have The Faded Sky, which is a sequel. 4.5 stars, I believe. And we have The Relentless Moon. 5 stars as well. Love this. And then we have finally The Martian Contingency, where we very recently finished it and gave it 4 stars. My least favorite. Still a decent book. We have A Spy in the House by Y.S. Lee, the first book in the Agency series. Very good. Bird Box by Josh Malerman. And The Novice by Tara Matharu. The next shelf over is my Masterworks book. We actually covered a lot of them in my TBR books series. But like, we'll show the ones that I have already read. First up we have To Say Nothing of the Dog by Connie Willis. I read that last year. I also have read Earth Abides by George R. Stewart, and I have a review of this on my channel. These are in sort of order of publication. And I read The Dispossessed, also by Ursula K. Le Guin. And then I read, this year I read Fearsome Indian by Ian M. Banks. All the other books on here are to be read, and you can watch my TBR to see what all the books are here, or if you can read them all in this shot, I don't know. This next shelf over is my M books. Authors with M. First up we have L.L. McNeil, sorry, she's also called L.L. McRae now, I think. We have Morona, Padam, and Amora, books 1 to 3 of the World of Lunaria series. This is a self-published fantasy series. I really enjoy it. It has a lot of great characters and great world building and stuff. We have Vampire Academy, Frostbite, Shadow Kiss, Blood Promise, Spirit Bound, and Last Sacrifice. You can't see Last Sacrifice. Books 1 to 6 of the Vampire Academy series. A mishmash of editions, because I started collecting the red ones when I started getting the book, and they were a limited edition, so I can't get the remaining. Bloodlines, Golden Lily, The Indigo Spell, Fiery Heart, The Silver Shadows, and finally The Ruby Circle. Books 1 to 6 of the Bloodline series, which I prefer this over the Vampire Academy books. But I'm in a minority. These are direct, it's a spin-off series to the Vampire Academy. Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, and Winter. Books 1 to 4 of the Lunar Chronicles. They are sci-fi retellings of fairy tales. Quite fun, but not for everyone. Dark Fever, Blood Fever, and Dream Fever, books 1, 2, and 4 of the Fever series. I have the third one in a different edition. You'll see later. Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I didn't love this one. We have Squire Terence and His Maiden Knight. Very recently read this, and by Gerald Morris, the first book in the Squire's Tale series. Enjoyed it quite a bit. Okay, on this shelf we're getting to my Terra Pratchett collection, the start of my Terra Pratchett collection. But before we get to that, I have 2 books over here. That's not Terra Pratchett. We have Uprooted by Naomi Novik, and Rook, The Rook by Daniel O'Malley. And now we're getting into all of my Terra Pratchett books. I have different editions, but they are more or less together because I wanted them not separated. Also, I didn't have more space for my hardcovers up at the top. So first up we have The Small Gods by Terra Pratchett. This is one of the standalones in the Discworld. This was gifted to me by Cover Books. She gifted me quite a few books actually. We have The Fifth Elephant, which is, I believe this is Sam Bimes City Watch book. We have The Truth, which is the first one of the Industrial Revolution books. They are sort of the newspaper agency thing. Night Watch, which is one of my all-time favorite Terry Pratchett books. Monstrous Regiment, also really good. Love this one. Making Money, also one of my favorite Moise Ward Lipwick books. Yeah. Wintersmith, a Tiffany Aching book. Also really enjoyed all of them. Hey, I have a bookmark in here. Thought this is, I think, my second favorite City Watch book. Or maybe it's my favorite City Watch book. Hold on, check out my ranking. I have The Unseen Academicals, but definitely my favorite Rincewind book. Football in the Discworld, funny. The Shepherd's Crown by Terry Pratchett, very interesting ending, sad at the same time, nostalgic and stuff. These are the mass market paperbacks. So we have the beginning. I think they are in order, but I'm not sure. We have The Color of Magic, which is the first. Let's put it here. We have The Light Fantastic, beautiful. And we have A Sorcery. This is definitely not the third. Or the fourth. Hold on. The third one don't have in this edition, but this is the fourth one, Maud. And then we have Sorcery, which is the fifth one. Weird Sisters, I believe this is correct. Pyramids, Guards, Eric, and Moving Pictures. I think this is the correct order now. I'm happy. Repo Man. This is my all-time favorite Discworld book. Who would have thought? And Witches Abroad. That's this stack. I also have Soul Music, but I'm currently reading it. I think it comes in somewhere along here. Probably not, but a little uncertain. We have Small Gods again. I have 2 copies of this. This is the only Terry Pratchett book I have 2 copies of, I think. Yeah. And I have Lords and Ladies, a Witches book, Men at Arms, a City Watch book, an Interesting Times, a Rincewind book. Masquerade, one of my favorite witches book, if not the favorite. Feet of Clay, and Hogfather, also one of my favorite Discworld books. And here we have, like, this is sort of I can use this with my phone if I wanted to. I have The Amazing Maurice and His Educated Rodents. This is a different size of hardback than the others. I also have A Hatful of Sky. And then I have 4 sort of regular paperbacks. We have Equal Right, the 3rd book in the Discworld order. The first book we are introduced to Granny Weatherwax and the Witches. We have The Free Men, a Tiffany Aching book. Really like this as well. I have a bookmark in here. I think it's because I listen to these in audio, so sometimes I don't remove the bookmark apparently. We have I Shall Wear Midnight, another Tiffany Aching book. Oh. Then we have Snuff, which is one of the I think this is the last City Watch book. We have a Jingo, which is a City Watch book. And we have The Last Continent. This is Rincewind. And Thief of Time, which is the last Death book. And Carpe Joculum, this is a witches book, also one of my favorites of them. And then going postal, my favorite Moise Ward Lipwick, I think. I also really like Racing Steam, which is also Moise Ward Lipwick. Another bookmark. On this shelf I have a couple that I haven't read yet, but I've already talked about them in my sort of TBR for the year. But I have read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I have read this one. I haven't read this. Hold on. That's one of the unread. That's Tale of Wildfell Hall. I have read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And I have Middlemarch, which I also haven't read, and North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, which I also haven't read. Then we have Drink Deep by Chloe Neal. I read this. This is book 4 in the Chicagoland Vampire series. I have read Hatchet by Gary Paulson, Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk, Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I read this, gave it 4 stars. I got sucked into the YA fantasy thing. I have the sequel. I don't know. We have the Percy Jackson books, The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. And then we have The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, Mark of Athena, House of Hades, and The Blood of Olympus. This is all of the books in the Heroes of Olympus series, the sequel to the Percy Jackson series. My sister read this a couple of years ago and was very happy I had these books. She was looking for me. I have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I have Attachments, also by Rainbow Rowell. I have The Last Honest Woman by Nora Roberts. A Very Good Lives by J.K. Rowling. The second and third book in the Harry Potter series in the old original covers. Let's not dwell too much on that. And a shelf down we have Aristotle and Dante Discovers the Secrets of the Universe. We have my Brenda Sanderson collection, which is Warbreaker, The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages books. The first 3 books in the Mistborn original trilogy. I have read The Alloy of Law, which is the first book in the spin-off to the Mistborn series. And then I have read Elantris, which is a standalone-ish book. I have decided to start reading them in the order that they were published. So we have The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski, A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, A Gathering of Shadows. I gave this one 3 stars. This I gave 2 stars. This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab, I gave this one 4 stars. And Vicious, I think I gave this 4 stars too. The Collapsing Empire by John Scalzi, Slaves to Sensation, and Visions of Hate by Nalini Singh, the first book in the Side Changeling series. Poison Study, Magic Study, and Fire Study, the study series by Maria V. Snyder. Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood. Dracula by Bram Stoker. Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the first bind-up of the Rhaenyra Revelations. And then we have Rise of Empire, the second bind-up of the Rhaenyra Revelations. And this next little cubicle is not completely filled out. As you can see, I have my Lord of the Rings books here. First up, I have a Danish edition of the first book, The Fellowship of the Ring. I have my edition of The Hobbit. I have The Fellowship of the Ring, a paperback edition, and a different edition, but The Two Towers. And finally, I also have The Return of the King, same edition as the first one. And on the shelf we also have The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. And The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torre. On this shelf I have the 2 books that I've just finished over the week, and I need to sort of wrap them up. They always lie here ready so I don't forget any. But those are Goth Girl and A Feat Worse Than Death by Chris Riddell, and also Elat's Away by Darcy Little Badger. I'll just put it on the shelf underneath while I'm showing you off the other books. I have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. 2 Danish fantasy books. One of them is called Pigen fra Fenmarken. I don't know how to translate it. And the second one is Dæmonens Bind or The Demon's Web. And they are sort of with elves and stuff. It's not been translated. Everything by Nicola Yoon. So long since I read this one, I don't think it will hold up. Also The Sun is Also a Star, also by Nicola Yoon. Here we have 2 audio collections. First up we have the first 3 books of the In Death series in audio CD collection. This is more or less how I started listening to audios. This is obviously Naked in Death, Glory in Death and Immortal in Death, the first 3 books in that series. And I also have another collection, but that is a little further on, and we have from 6 to 10, Vengeance in Death, Holiday in Death, Conspiracy in Death, Loyalty in Death, and Witness in Death. So those are books, as I said, 6 to 10. Now we're getting into our mass market books. First up we have The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. Magic Bleeds by Iluna Andrews. The Madness of Lord Ian Mackenzie by Jennifer Ashley, the first book in the Mackenzie and McBrides, I believe. Also, the Magic Bleeds was the 4th book in the Kate Daniels series. Cry Wolf by Patricia Briggs, the first book in the Alpha and Omega series. Dandelion Vine by Ray Bradbury, and Something Wicked This Way Comes, also by Ray Bradbury. They're actually the same series, but they don't really connect in that way, so you can easily read them on their own. My favorite is Dandelion Vine. Written in Red by Anne Bishop, Murder of Crows, and Vision in Silver, books 1 to 3 of the Other series. This is a pretty gritty, slow-moving urban fantasy series. The Watered Man by Peter V. Brett. This is also known as, I think, The Painted Man. Barrier by Lois Master Bujold, the 7th book in the Bukowski saga. So You Want to Be a Wizard by Diane Duane, the first book in the Young Wizard series. The Magician by Raymond E. Feist. Grey Side by Charlene Harris. Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, a different edition than my other books, but at least I have it. The Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, the first book in Life Ship Traders. And I also have a very beat up copy of The Mad Ship, the 2nd book in the same series. And finally, I also have Shaman's Crossing on the shelf by Robin Hobb, the first book in the Soldier Son cycle. One shelf down, we have Night Embrace and Dance with the Devil, 2 of the Dark Hunter books. I also have Sword of Darkness and Night of Darkness by Kelly McGregor. That's the same author and the same series, just like this is a spin-off series but set in the Dark Hunter universe. But I don't really connect in any way. This is Arthurian Legends and it's not very good. I would recommend skipping it if you decide to pick it up. Different Seasons by Stephen King, one of my favorite. It's my favorite short story collection by him, or novella collection. Really enjoyed it. The Eyes of the Dragon. Surprisingly good, in my opinion. I ran in with not so high expectations, so yeah, I liked it. The Dead Zone by Stephen King, one of my all-time favorites. Night Shift by Stephen King, one of my favorite short story collections. The Shining by Stephen King, also one of my favorites. Skeleton Crew, Miss By. I thought it was going to be one of my favorites because it's a short story collection. I've really enjoyed all of them up until this point, but I didn't really like this one. So I also have Pet Sematary. And then finally by Stephen King, I also have The Stand. I've more or less only bought books that I really enjoyed, and I bought Skeleton Crew in advance when I thought it was going to be good, but otherwise I only have books by Stephen King that I really like. Then we have Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marília, my favorite read of last year, and looking forward to continuing with her books. I know this shelf. We also have the Game of Thrones series, or Song of Ice and Fire. First up we have a Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, and A Storm of Swords, Steel and Snow Part 1, and A Storm of Swords Part 2, Blood and Gold. A Feast for Crows, and finally A Dance with Dragons. Books 1 to 5 of the A Song of Ice and Fire series. We're all waiting for Winds of Winter. We will see if it ever gets published. Lastly, I also on this shelf have Stormborn by Richelle Mead. This is the only book I have that's a physical copy I have that's outside of the Vampire Academy universe. But I liked it. So on this shelf I just have my Harry Potter collection. I don't think we need to dwell too much on that one. You all know it. So I'll continue with the next shelf, which will be the last one. So this is the last shelf, and first up over here we have Fae Fever by Karen Marie Moning. As I mentioned earlier, I have this in a different edition than the others. It's very much shorter. It's a mass market size, so it's the third book in the same series. I also have The Great Children's Doctor by Sarah Morgan, a medical romance. Harley Quinn, Mills and Boone. Then I have Friday Night Bites and Twice Bitten by Chloe Neal, the books 2 and 3 in the Chicagoland Vampire series. Again, I have, I think, the first one on my Kindle, and I read the fourth one on my Kindle. I think I mentioned earlier that I had the fourth one, but that was the fifth one actually. So I have Temeraire by Naomi Novik, my favorite Naomi Novik by far. This is so different than her YA stuff, so highly recommend it. If you didn't really like that, there's a chance you might like this because it's just so different. This is a historical set in the Napoleonic Wars but with dragons, and it's really good. 1984 by George Orwell, and I also own a copy of Animal Farm, also by George Orwell. These are some of my favorite classics I've read so far, so definitely highly recommend them if you are into sort of dystopian stuff. It's really creepy, very realistic. And I have Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I could have put this with the Discworld books, but there wasn't really room for them on that shelf, so I decided to shelf it under this shelf. I don't know. Then we have one of my favorite Harley Quinn Mills and Boone series. We have the Flabbers Fake Fiancé, the Flabbers Baby Scandal, and the Flabbers Scandalous Elopement by Laurie Robinson. This is a 1920s set historical romance and has mystery and romances blending in together in a really good way. Then I have a 2-book bundle of Renegade Protector and Wyoming Christmas Ransom. Didn't like Renegade Protector much. Wyoming Christmas Ransom was good. Then I have Wyoming Cowboy Marine as well, and Undercover Justice recently added to the shelf, and I gave one of them 3.5 stars, the other one 2 stars, so not a really good collection in my opinion. And then we have finally the last Harley Quinn on this 2-book bundle with The Princess and the Rebel Billionaire by Sophie Pembroke and Alison Lee's Cowboy in Disguise. I gave The Princess and the Rebel Billionaire 4.5 stars, and I gave The Cowboy in Disguise 4 stars, so definitely a really good collection. I have Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson, a sci-fi book set on Mars. So, Fascination by John Scalzi, one of my favorite sci-fi novels, Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare, the only Shakespeare I've read. We didn't read Shakespeare in school, so. Stormglass by Marie V. Snyder, the first book in the Glass series. Who Could It Be at This Hour by Lemony Snicket, in the first book in the All the Wrong Questions series. The Martian by Andy Weir. I'm really bitter that I have this tall, annoying mass market paperback. I thought I got the regular paperback, so. And Doomsday Book by Connie Willis, one of my favorite time travel books ever. And finally on the shelf we have Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Brady. This is the first book in the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. I really should get the next one. I really enjoyed this one. It was really good. Classic fantasy book. So this was the end of my bookshelf tour. I hope you enjoyed it if you stuck to the end. And I hope it didn't turn out too boring for you. Yeah. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye.